Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on Azure Migrate. My name is Vishal Jain, and I have with me my colleague, Shashank Bansal. We are from the Azure Migrate product management team, and we focus on migrations and modernization. Today, we want to walk you through the end-to-end migration journey. We are also excited to talk about some of the innovations, and we also want to talk about some practical guidance focused on the agentic experiences. And we want to help you, agentic experiences that are going to help you streamline your migration and modernization journey to the cloud using Azure Migrate. So just to set some context, I want to walk us through a typical migration journey, and it involves multiple persona, as you would already know. There are these infra admins, the business decision makers, application developers, then you have your networking, security, SMEs, practically everyone in the company. Now, decisions need to be made at every stage of that migration journey, be it for a simple lift and shift that you need to do, or you need to modernize before you move to the cloud. Now, the first step of this journey is what we call the decide stage. This is focused around trying to pick your cloud platform for our apps. And the business decision makers here need to get a buy-in from their stakeholders, and they need justification in terms of what's the cloud spend estimates, what's the ROI going to look like. They need to be able to justify maximizing the ROI. And then we have the infra admins who are supporting these business decision makers, and the way they do that is by creating a catalog of all the applications, all the workloads that are running in the environment on top of the diverse infrastructure that they're running or managing, and clarifying the operational needs, such as your resilience or your security or your compliance. Now, once the decision is made, the plan stage involves deeper analysis on each of these applications to finalize the migration path. Now, infra admins here, in this case, are helping determine the application boundaries. The cloud architects, the infra admins, they need to prepare their apps for deployment to the cloud, determine the right SKUs, right target services on the cloud, network topology, and understanding the extent of code changes that may be needed to move that app to the cloud. And finally, it boils down to the execute phase. Now, this is the phase where the infra admins are working with the application teams, your cloud architects to implement the plan. Now, the plan is not set in stage as such. The plan is going to evolve during the entire migration, during the entire execute stage, so to speak. And that, so that they are able to handle the unique performance, scalability, and compliance needs of that application. Now, all through this, all these teams are working together to ensure there is continuity in business and there is minimal downtime. Now, Azure Migrate is the service to manage your end-to-end migrations. With Azure Migrate, you can discover the entire workload that's running in your environment, agnostic of the tech stack that it's built on. Now, understanding the dependencies between those workloads, estimating the cloud costs, determining the ROI, the return on investment, build a detailed migration plan to maximize the benefits. Now, it does not just stop there. It helps you with performing the execute stage as well. And you of course, have the server migration, but with integrations with tools or purpose-built tools such as GitHub Copilot, database migration service, RV tools, etc., we're able to ensure that all the stakeholders are able to collaborate better and keeping the migration journey smooth and simple. Now, thousands of customers have used Azure Migrate successfully to modernize their infrastructure and being able to unlock new possibilities on the cloud. To bring this story to life, we're thrilled to highlight the journey of Itron, one of our esteemed customers, who's truly embraced this transformation. Now, Itron is a global leader partnering with cities and utilities across the globe to deliver to deliver reliable energy, water, and intelligent infrastructure solutions. Please join me in welcoming Anant, the Director of IT Enterprise Architecture at Itron, to talk us about the remarkable journey.
Hi there. Well, this is a nice crowd. Thank you for coming out there, guys. Right. So where would you guys want me to start? You did such a great job describing what the past is. So we have a textbook case, right? So as he was describing, we started out our journey with all of the same problems. We had pressures in terms of operational performance. We had aging infrastructure. We had a porous attack surface from a security standpoint. And as we started to get into our journey, the first most important thing was how do we get after understanding what our opportunities are over here, right? So as we think about Azure Migrate, and as we're starting to think about tooling, we use several partners. We also use several of our internal folks, and plus we had a lot of help from Microsoft at the time, right? So as we looked at Azure Migrate, the most important thing to understand is the ability it brings to the table with the capture of your existing workloads and your landscape as you would think about it, right? So as you get into that and start understanding the dependencies of your current landscape, and as you start wanting to decipher priorities, your ROI, and then also your total cost of ownership in the future, this is exactly where these tools come into play for us. For us, the journey was accelerated because we were able to combine the goodness of all of this tooling, the intelligence that came from Microsoft, and with our partners to bring us to where we are. Are we done with our journey? Absolutely not, guys, right? We're also continuing to look at a hybrid model where we're not only looking at cloud native, but we're also looking at Azure local. If you are interested in that, that's a whole separate space where we look at proximity solutions in some of our data centers where data residency in certain pockets is extremely important for us. Okay, so that's one piece of it. The other piece of it for us was, as we're looking at our original landscape, we did have several data silos, and how do we actually convert those data silos into improving the time from data to decisions and insights, right? That's where our ability to bring all of this information together comes in and be able to move it to Fabric actually starting to play out, right? So this is the journey that we've been on, right? What I'm happy to report, okay, the outcomes for us have really been that, yes, we've been able to really take some of the porosity, as you would like to say, some of the broken down pieces of our security. We've been able to close those gaps, right? As we think about that, our operational posture has definitely improved significantly. And when I say that, it's not just time to scale, it's also our cost model has changed as a result of the work that we've done with the migrations, right? And more importantly, as we start looking at this from the perspective of the tooling, right? As the tooling gets better, it helps us speed up the process of some of these complex migrations. So that's my story in a nutshell. Don't know if there are any questions you had for us or not.
I think this is great.
All right.
And in terms of some of the challenges that you kind of highlighted, if you may just summarize that at a high level, you had challenges with your dependencies, identifying what constitutes, what needs to move, what needs to stay.
Right.
Then you had some challenges with determining what is how do you set up your environment? How do you make things run faster? If there is anything else that you want to highlight, please.
Yeah, I think the journey piece that really comes into play is you gotta start small. As you start looking at the dependencies and the information that you're gathering, using the tool, right? The tool is a means to an end for sure. It speeds up your process, helps your decision making, right? But the really, really big important piece over here really comes back to deciding and prioritizing which workloads you want to move first, okay? It can be a risk-based model. You can say, I'm going to go with the hardest one first with all the bells and whistles attached to it, or I can go with the simplest ones, okay, depending on your appetite and the way you do things, right? And that's one really important piece, because as you build the pieces to the foundation and the rest of the castle starts to stand on its own, right, your team is also going to get the confidence in understanding the differences in the various combinations of technologies that you're moving with these workloads. So that was one of the challenges that we were able to overcome, that we learned along with our partners and with Microsoft, plus the tooling obviously accelerated some of that work for us. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Good deal, guys. Thank you so much. Yep.
Thank you. That was incredible. Definitely learning from the art, state of the art, in terms of how tooling helps speed things up. And like Anant said, a very core piece of this is taking decisions. Throughout the journey, there are decisions that have to be made. And for years, that have been manual, that have needed a lot of discussion amongst the organization. There's a confidence piece he shared in terms of, it really depends on how confident you are. And the tech is there to help you build that confidence. That's where I'm going to talk you through how agentic migration and modernization can help with a lot of that, substituting the manual know-how, the knowledge base, and the data, interpreting the data to make things better. Cloud migrations have been manual, and they have been slow. They take time. The way we are looking at agentic migration and modernization is pass on the heavy lifting. Throughout our experience with Azure Migrate, we have figured out, courtesy customers like Itron, what are the hotspots? Where do decisions take time? Whether it be understanding the infra, dependencies, figuring out which is the right strategy, which order should I go with, what is the recommended architecture for my app, and even refactoring code. Each and every one of them is a time-consuming step in the journey. And which order do you go in? Itself depends on your appetite and know-how. That's what we are looking at agentic migration and modernization to solve. Let me walk you through how. To start with, it's important for us to realize that in agentic clouds, agents are not just assistants. They are not to answer questions alone. They are doing stuff for us. They are taking actions autonomously and taking away the thinking away from you. You don't have to learn. They will help you understand what happened and on the way learn, recommending things for you. GitHub Copilot is a peer programmer. It is generally available peer programmer proven to generate code, take away complex coding tasks, including upgrading .NET and Java applications for the cloud, getting them secure to the latest versions. Very, very critical step when it comes to modernizing your applications. Azure Copilot is a sibling Copilot to GitHub Copilot. It is helping with accelerated migrations. It is helping with intelligent operations and optimizations to go with. So the lay of the land becomes your IT teams live in Azure Copilot doing things that they do well, and your development teams can live in GitHub Copilot. Together, these two bring the magic to life. They make migration and modernization simple, faster, and just more intelligent and resilient. Introducing, so what we have seen is some of our early adopters are already using this tech, and they're seeing some benefits in terms of just they're able to modernize their applications up to 4x faster using these agents. When they move from VMware, they're seeing their applications are 80% more available. Their security teams are 46% more productive. They're having to deal with less stuff. And there are savings and performance benefits that go along with it. All of this benefit and the knowledge base of Azure Migrate put together, I'm happy to announce a gated preview of the migration agent in Azure Copilot. It's the agent that layers itself on top of the Azure Migrate service. One of the principles that we use out here is no knowledge goes waste. Everything that you have learned, we have learned on Azure Migrate, the concepts hold true. We are putting that and the experiences together to focus on speed. how can we simplify these, take away decision-making, and help you through. I want to emphasize on a few of the key aspects of the agent before I show that to you in action. The first step in your journey, like Vishal talked to you, is the decide phase. Is the stage where you have to do an ROI analysis. The infra admin and the business decision maker needs a justification. It has been something that used to take days, sometimes even weeks, with a very important step being, how do I discover what I'm running? So coupling with the agent, we are also announcing an gated preview of the Azure Migrate collector. It's a new discovery mechanism in Azure Migrate, using which you don't need an outbound connectivity to your data center and be able to do a discovery. Processing that and autonomously generating the required business cases, summarizing them, helping you compare, the agent cuts down the discovery to analysis time into hours. The next step in the journey that I want to highlight out here is an automatic generation of the landing zone. The landing zone is an important piece where before you migrate your application, before you actually execute and move things, you need your environment ready with some policies. You need an environment ready with some base constructs that are true to the frameworks, best practices, and your organizational needs. This is something that needed SMEs to talk to each other. This is something that involved all the SMEs in the execute stage as it comes in. The agent will it has used the intelligence of landing zones generated by us, by our partners over years, and have put that together in a knowledge base to say, I can automate that thing for you. I know, given your environment, what is the landing zone that you should use, while still giving you full control on being able to customize and edit it. Not just that, we make sure, because we are layering it on Azure Migrate, you don't need to know which job are you running. The contextual awareness of the agent drives you through this entire journey, depending on the workload and the application that you're running. All in all, a single experience that lets you through from start to end, simplifying and streamlining this journey. Let me show you how the decide stage can be simplified using the agent. For simplicity, I have pre-recorded the content, but I'm going to walk you through how that looks. My role today is I'm an IT administrator from Contoso, and I am being tasked to say, present me a business proposal to the planning committee, because we are looking to modernize our applications from VMware to Azure. And the question that needs to be answered is, why modernize? Okay. So to start with, I have created an Azure Migrate project. I'm new to this game. I am not sure as to what to do. I'm going to use the migration agent. I go to the migration agent and basically ask, I need to move. Tell me what I should do. We see the migration agent has tried to paint a picture to me to say, hey, you should modernize. And to modernize, you should start by discovering. For discovery, I need to know what to do. I am not sure. So I asked the agent again, how should I proceed? The agent recommended me the Azure Migrate appliance. Now, as I read this description, the certain things come to my mind, right? Like one of the things that I know is I need to connect my data center to the internet for this appliance to work. Now, that is a non-trivial amount of work for me. My security team is going to raise eyebrows. And historically, I've heard it takes time. So I need options. I cannot just go by what the agent is telling blindly. So I ask the agent to explain me what other options do I have. And the agent comes back with, here are 3 options that Azure Migrate supports, and you can use any one of them. It is painting a very high-level view of how I should decide. I can use with RV-Tools-based discovery. RV-Tools is a VMware-provided utility that exports the vCenter details, and I can import that into Azure Migrate. But it does tell me it provides less detail than the appliance. Now, of course, less details means my plan will be partial. It can only give me plan based on what it knows. The collector out here, the new thing seems interesting to me. It says I'm going to gather data from vCenter, and it explicitly is saying I don't need internet access. That is exactly what I needed. So I'm going to ask the agent to give me some more details and try the collector out. Okay. The agent has given me a high-level description of the prerequisites, and the Azure Migrate service provides this collector as a set of PowerShell scripts. So what I'm going to do next is to try this out. I'm going to take those PowerShell scripts, download them from Azure Migrate, and go to a machine that has access to my on-prem environment. It need not have access to internet. I run those PowerShell scripts. The configuration manager opens automatically. It is a familiar interface similar to the appliance. And I'm going to provide it the credentials to connect to my vCenter and tell it which vCenter should it go collect data from. And hit start data collection. Within a few minutes, essentially that entire process will run on that one machine, the machine that I configured, and collect the information from the vCenter, from the guest workloads, for the network data that is needed. And it is going to provide me as a zip file. I take the zip file and connect once to Azure Migrate and upload the data. Let me ask the agent, how did we do? So here we go. The agent took that information and said, in the data center that you just discovered, I found virtual machines, SQL databases, Postgres databases, and .NET applications. By the way, I also had issues with 361 of your workloads. I couldn't fully figure them out. That is something that I should go look at. But for my ROI analysis, I may be OK. Rather than looking at those issues, I'm more interested in another aspect of this, where I know some of the servers may be running a legacy OS, and that is a risk that I don't want to carry forward. Let me ask, what are these servers? How many of these are there? Let me see if the agent can help me with that with no context. So I'll go ahead and ask the agent to help me find out of support machines. Okay. So there we go. It has listed me 20 servers that are out of support, along with the details that are there. Not just that, it also told me that overall there are 50 such resources that I have. And I'm going to tag all of them for later use. Right from here, with no information about what column to use, what structure to use, the agent just understood what I needed. Underlying all of this is the same Azure Migrate data source. So if I go to this Migrate project, I will see the all inventory view as I generally would. Okay. Let me move to the next step in the journey. Now what I need to do is to prepare my business proposal. Let me ask, what's the ROI? Why should I modernize? What will I gain? Now this is something that typically I would have required to learn about Azure Migrate business case. In this case, the moment I said ROI, the agent understood. The concept that this person needs is, I need to go create a business case. Let me just do it for him. No more settings needed. I didn't have to tell what settings to use. He used the settings and generated a business case for me. And I summarized that I would save $1.35 million over 3 years. Not just that, it also paints me a summary of other benefits from modernization, including carbon footprint savings, higher performance, security, and so on and so forth. All in a matter of one prompt and some time that I gave to it. Now, as a part of the business proposal, that's not enough for me. That's only one side of the story. It says modernization gives you this. What's my other side of the story? What should I compare it with? Because I need to go convince Anant, come on, I need to modernize. I'm not here to just do a lift and shift. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the agent again, what should recommend me? What should be the other axis that I should look at? Let's give it a few minutes or seconds. Come on. All right. So here the agent will tell me that the other accesses I could use is lift and shift and AVS, with lift and shift typically being the fastest. Okay, let me do a side-by-side comparison between lift and shift and modernize. That sounds like a good comparison. Once again, I just had to tell him I need an ROI analysis and I need to compare between these two. It figured out I need another business case. The settings that I need to use were already available. It automatically in the background started creating a new business case for me. Now this, it's telling will take some time. So I can take a break and come back to it. Okay, 45 minutes have passed. I come back and I'll ask the agent, summarize me what you found. There. All right. So it's thought it through. It's painted me a comparison between two business cases, mining the information from both of them. And it's completely said that from a TCO savings point of view, both are giving you good savings. Both are giving you more than 1.35 million, with lift and shift giving you 120K extra. However, with the modernize, you get operational efficiencies and other benefits. So there I go. I have everything that I needed to prepare my business case, to prepare a business proposal. I can take this information, export it out, and go into the planning committee with confidence. What used to take me weeks have come down to hours to get me to a state where I can complete the ROI analysis. Thank you. Over to you, Vishal.
We have more demos coming in. So, but the agent really made the discovery or the decide phase look really simple. Now, in this section, we are going to talk about some of the product enhancements that we have made, apart from the agent-based modernization experiences that we just saw. So first up, we have an overhaul in the Azure Migrate experience. And you would have probably noticed only the agentic thing, but you will see in the following demos some of the other experiences as well. Now, in this overhaul, the application-centric journey is default. We'll see what that means. And then we have in-product experiences to plan and track our migration waves. And as always, we have expanded the workloads that we go and support. We have newer distros, Linux distros that we go and support, open source, workloads such as PostgreSQL. So let's go over some of these in detail. Now, one of the challenges that you folks have told us is it's extremely difficult to go identify what are the dependent workloads that form an application. Now, we've refined our experience to now show interdependent workloads at scale at an entire data center level instead of showing it at a per server level. If you folks have tried that before, you will see a marked difference in how we are able to show that. The application groups are no longer just tags. They are first-class objects in the product. And what that means is you are going to be able to do an end-to-end migration plan for each application. And not just that, you'll be able to do an app-specific ROI analysis. You can also do a migration strategy per application, so to speak. Okay? So I keep stressing on the word application so that app-centric experiences is carried right from your decide plan all the way to execute. Now, we have also done a bunch of enhancements on our TCO analysis, the business case that we were just talking about. It now includes the Microsoft negotiated pricing, right, automatically within your subscription. It also includes the burstable SKUs or the B series VMs automatically into the business case. We also we have also enhanced adding security insights to our report. So you will be able to see a whole bunch of security insights into your projects. And then our assessments are no longer just looking at a single workload to a single target, but they are doing at a multiple target in a single application, all in one assessment report. And not just that, you can actually enhance your report with code insights, with integrations with GitHub Copilot and with external tools such as Cost. Okay, so you are able to get a holistic view of both your config-based assessments and your code-based assessments all in one report. Now, adding to that, moving to applications to the cloud isn't just about speed, it's about strategy. Now, sequencing the move of your applications to the cloud needs to be based on criticality, business impact, and complexity, right? And this ensures minimal downtime and maximal value. Now, Azure Migrate's wave planning brings this discipline to life with an end-to-end experience. What that means is guided execution flows, centralized tracking, and then you are also able to leverage standardized tasks that we can come and suggest to you. Plan, execute, and monitor migrations at scale so that cloud architects and the project teams can stay aligned and deliver confidently. With that, I want to take you folks to a demo of some of these capabilities. So we start with all-up inventory, where we look at all the workloads that are listed at one place. We are able to filter these workloads with a whole bunch of different filters that we have. Let's say workload category, or the allocated storage, or the OS type, and all those things. Now, we are able to look at this inventory filter with all of these metadata that we have discovered. Now, I also noticed that there is a security column that has been added. Now, what this column is trying to tell me is what are the server level issues that are identified, and even on the guest software that's running on top of the server. And this is giving me a bird's eye view of what I need to do for this particular workload. And not just at a workload, I can take this and extend it at an entire data center level. So I can get a comprehensive security summary of my entire environment, and that can give me a good picture of what I need to be doing after that. Now, on the lines of software insights, we also have the inventory across my entire environment that I'm able to look at, and those are nicely and neatly categorized across the useful buckets such as security and compliance, database, data platforms, business applications, and so on and so forth. So this gives me a way to slice and dice how I want to categorize, what I want to move, what I want to keep. But this is still not solving my problem of being able to initiate or start my planning. And that is where I am going to go and click on the dependency analysis. And that's giving me a bird's eye view of all the servers, the interdependencies that are there at scale at a data center level. So if some of you have tried Azure Migrate in the past and then looked at the dependency analysis, you would have probably noticed a single server to what it's dependent on. But now, if you combine that one-to-one to many-to-many kind of connections, then this is what we have been able to build at scale.
And this view supports up to 2,000 machines in a single view. You can zoom in, zoom out, as per what you need. Gets a very bird's eye view. And it works great to see those clusters forming. And that is the start of your dependency analysis.
Yeah. I'm going to just go zoom into one of these workloads to be able to go figure out what is running on those nodes that I just see. These are not just dots there. These are very rich information about each of those servers and what's running on them. What's interesting is the connections between these that is being shown. So let me just show that again. I probably missed it. Oops. Is that what happened to this? Yeah. Next one. Yeah. So as you can see, there are connections that have that have been captured, that metadata across all the servers, and being able to see what is dependent on what. Now that starts my journey as a cloud admin to go start defining these applications. And apart from the usual metadata, I'm also able to specify the business criticality and complexity. Now, this particular capability will help me plan my migration waves as I go forward. Now, with this, I'm able to, during the defining the application, I'm able to add all the workloads that I needed. I could have tagged them beforehand, or I can add them manually. But then essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to create that container, the unit of migration that I'm going to move to the cloud. Now, once I have created that application, I need to start looking at what is the migration strategy that I need to apply for this application. And that's where I start creating an assessment. And this assessment is at an application level. It's no longer at a workload level like we used to do before. So if you notice, this application is consisting of 2 servers, a database, and a web app. So you can imagine that this assessment is giving me an output at that entire application level. And not just that, you can add hundreds of applications to the same assessment. For example, if you wanted to assess your entire data center, you could add all of them here, and it would still be able to go and assess them, right? So once the assessment is done, the output of this assessment is giving me a side-by-side comparison of the various different migration strategies that are there, right? And it's also coming back and giving me recommendations on which strategy I should be applying. And with that, I'm really curious to know what other details can I actually get out of this assessment. So I go zoom in into the Airsonic app that I have. And then I'm able to see the cost aspects of this, the readiness aspect of this, and this is truly exciting. So I'm going to go and talk to my application team for Airsonic and tell them that, hey, look, this is what I found. And what my application team owner is telling me is, hey, look, this is good, but of course I'll need to make some code changes. So can you tell me what I might need to do? I need to understand that. And that is where I'm actually going in and from Azure Migrate as an IT admin, going and creating a Git code, requesting for a code insight with my application team. And what that means is I'm going to create a GitHub issue for my application team that they can take a look at. And from their side, they are going to initiate, so it creates a GitHub issue with all the application context. And the application team can now spin up their VS Code or their ID and then go use GitHub Copilot, do an assessment, and then being able to upload that report back to that GitHub issue we just created. Now, once that GitHub issue is updated with this assessment report with the code inside, it is automatically picked up from the Azure Migrate assessment. And over there, I just need to recalculate the assessment, and I'm able to get the code insight right baked in to that assessment for that application. And it's now giving me a good picture of not just the config-based assessment, but also the code that I may need to change. Right? So with this, I'm going to start further along my planning journey. I'm going to start creating a wave and for this particular application. And with this, I'm able to use Azure Migrate for app-aware experiences to guide my wave planning and further. So with that, I'm going to let Shashank talk about the execute phase a little bit.
Thank you, Vishal. Moving forward, by the way, everything that we saw in the plan stage while we showed you by the UI is also available in the agent. Now, in the execute phase, there are 2 things that I want to highlight today. The first one, we briefly talked about landing zone earlier. This is where it actually comes to life. And like we said, setting up a compliant and well-architected landing zone can be quite complex, involve multiple personas, so many different perspectives, sometimes even tribal knowledge. I just do it this way. And that's where expertise comes in. That's where we are saying that somebody like an agent can help and say, here is an option for you, why don't you consider it? Not just that, help the cloud architects, help the SMEs understand and learn new technology better. As we are building this from the agent, we are saying CI/CD is the practice to use. Your environment drifting from standards is a real problem. So if you use CI/CD, it goes away. The agent automatically generates these templates, helps you refine those on the fly, and you can customize it using VS Code if you want. Secondly, of course, we talked about the role of GitHub during assessment stage, helping me understand what code insights is. GitHub Copilot also takes over and does those changes. It's not that it can only scan and help with. It also performs changes and recommends what needs to happen. Basically, just making code refactoring up to 50% faster. Time given back to development teams right there. And honestly, we have seen that being the biggest inertia to modernization. I want to do it quickly. This will take time. I need to involve my dev team. They will take ages to fix this. Let me just do lift and shift. You only get so much benefit by doing that. So the two of these experiences, along with wave planning, making execute stage simpler and faster. Let me quickly show you how. Okay. I need to generate a platform landing zone, so I'll directly jump to the agent and request it to create a landing zone for me. Okay, there you go. So what the agent has done is used expertise that it has, the knowledge base it has, the context of my environment, and said, I think you should use these settings. It has explained that to me to say, I've chosen an org name for you. That is how you should name your resources. You should use a hub and spoke network scheme to start with. Start small and expand. You should use Azure Firewall for protection, GitHub for CI/CD, and you may be OK going in a single region. Now, I'm not very happy with some of the things it said. Especially personally, I'm not a networking expert, so I inquire with the agent on saying, help me understand what you said. What is this hub and spoke thing? Why should I not use something else? So it paints and educates me out here to say, you see, there are two options, hub and spoke and virtual vRAN, and explains that in a way that I follow. I say, OK, I think he's right. I will go by hub and spoke, but I want to make a few changes. I don't want to use GitHub as my CI/CD repository. I want to use Azure DevOps. And secondly, from a naming scheme, I want to use Contoso as the name. So I just tell it those, and right there, the agent says, OK, I'll go update your template. So it has updated those templates with everything that I told. Not just that, I am concerned about resiliency of my application and environment. So I tell it I need a more resilient setup. Right? Now, understanding and relating to resiliency means multiple regions is a knowledge that the agent has. It picked up 2 regions for me. Initially, I had only told it 1. It picked up a second region and updated it. I'm going to give this template over to my cloud architect for review. What my cloud architect is going to do is pick up GitHub Copilot and VS Code and review the changes. And I just decide as a cloud architect to say, let me deploy this as well. Because I'm going to do a test migration of an app and see how it works out. Without needing to leave VS Code, using the power of GitHub Copilot and the integration with Azure Migrate, I'm able to review those templates and get things going. To be ready to say, I am now ready to execute the waves that we created previously. I come back to Azure Migrate to the wave that we created and just say execute wave. It strings out a series of processes, integrates with the tools that do database migration, server migration, or other workloads, and completes it. But I'm not done yet. I did CI/CD for my environment. Now, why should I not do CI/CD for my application? Can Azure Migrate help me with that? So introducing infra as code generation capability right within Azure Migrate from assessments. So it generates me a template that I can review. It provisions those resources. It configures the network between them, and it will set up the security as per the landing zone. I am basically ready to move my application using that code. And I'm done with the migration journey, all up. Thank you. Back to. Okay. Now, while we completed the migration journey, there's one last thing I want to talk about. Moving data at scale, petabytes of data at scale can be hard, costly. So in Azure Storage and along with Azure, we offer 2 mechanisms to do these data transfers well. We have Azure Data Box. It's an offline data transfer mechanism where you can copy your data from on-prem and connect it to Azure and do it. The next generation of Azure Database Box is now generally available. We have expanded the capacity it can handle to 120 terabytes. And then there's an online mechanism which does it using the storage mover service, which copies it over to Azure resources. Basically, what we saw is the two things accelerating things together to get things there. Thank you.
Yeah, these are some of the other sessions that you might want to also attend. And you can take a picture of this and sign up. There are 2 labs as well that you can actually take part.
You can practice and see these things in action on the labs.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining and looking forward to migrations happening.
Thank you.